Guys, I just made a huge purchase. Now I know what you guys are thinking. You bought a house. Nah. You bought a car. No. I bought this. Well, if you guys haven't guessed by now, I just purchased a brand new ESAB Rebel 205 IC EMP multi-process welder. Now this machine is a true multi-process machine. That means it does MIG, it does TIG, and it also does stick as well. And this is also an AC/DC machine, so it does have the capability of welding aluminum without a spool gun. I could literally TIG weld aluminum with this machine. Now, when I looked at multi-process machines, because trust me, I was shopping around like a madman. I was looking at Eastwood, Harbor Freight, Everlast, AHP. I mean, literally every welder under the sun, even Miller. None of the machines would even come close to what this machine could do. Now, when you look at cheaper multi-process machines, they're limited. They only do MIG, TIG, or stick, but they only do it on DC. Unfortunately, that means you cannot TIG weld aluminum. Well, with this machine, however, you can do that because it is a true multi-process machine. Now, the only machine that actually came close to this was the Miller 220 AC/DC. But unfortunately, that machine was just too expensive. It was about $4,000 or over $4,000. And this one I actually got on a massive deal. I got about $1,200 off of this machine. That means I only paid about $2,900. I'll tell you guys all more in detail of how I got it for so cheap, because I did have to do some selling and bartering and getting deals and asking for money and blah, 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 blah. But I basically got this machine for about $2,900 out the door. And, well, yeah, I think I did. I think this was a score, to be honest. Now I know what you guys are thinking. How are you going to be talking about a machine that you haven't even used yet? Look, it still has plastic on it. Trust me, guys, I've already used this machine. Well, not this particular machine, but the exact same model. I had this exact same model at my old job. I welded with it for a couple months, and trust me, guys, I fell in love with this machine. This thing is badass, bar none. It literally does everything. Mainly, I TIG welded aluminum with the TIG welder and used the MIG for some stuff around the shop. And honestly, after using it for some time, I decided, you know what? I need this for my house. So I ended up purchasing my very own. So there are some features I really, really love about this, but there's also some features that, well, I think they could have improved on with this ESAB welder, especially for the price. But let's go ahead and turn on the machine, talk about some of the features, and then we'll talk about some of the negatives. And also, I will tell you guys how I got this machine for so cheap. We'll talk about that a little bit more later on in the video. But for now, let's go ahead and turn it on and show you some of the features. All right, let's go ahead and turn on the machine. Now, one negative about the machine is it is quite loud as far as the fan goes. Now, you did hear it ramp down, and right now it's quiet, but when you start welding, you will hear the fan turn on or kick on, and it's quite loud. So that might be a negative for some of you guys, but for me, it doesn't really bother me. I'd rather have a fan running to keep the machine cool. It lets me weld longer. Now, this is a, it is a multi-voltage as well, so it does run on 110 or 220 as well. So you do have that option. Now, With 110, you are limited a little bit on power. As far as TIG welding, I saw that I could not go over 100 amps when TIG welding. With 220, you have a wide range of amperage as well. So those are some limitations with the machine when you are welding on 110. Well, I'm going to be mainly welding at home, so 110 is basically all I have. So anyway, let's go ahead and run you down into the features here. So here on the home screen, we have something called SMIG, or what's known as Smart MIG. This is the best option for MIG welding with this machine. I'll talk about that a little bit more. Well, let's just talk about it right now, actually. So with Smart MIG, you go ahead and select your diameter, or wire size, I should say, wire diameter. You have the option of 2.3, 3.0, and 3.5. In this particular case, we're going to be putting in that we're using a 3.0 wire because that's actually what we are using. Then secondly, you adjust the machine to whatever thickness of material you are using, whether it be 12 gauge, 1/8, or it goes all the way down to, I believe, 22 gauge. Yep, 22 gauge. You know, whatever material your thickness of material you're using. So yeah, you are able to adjust that, and then once you are ready to weld, you just start welding, and the machine does the rest. It actually starts to adjust the machine to your welding style, and it takes about 4 seconds for this machine to really get dialed in while welding. But trust me, this is probably the best feature about this machine. And yeah, well, let's go ahead and continue on. Then you have regular MIG, which, you know, just regular MIG. We'll just go ahead and go in there, so you can adjust your own wire speed and voltage, of course. Let's see what else we got. We have flux core welding for those that maybe don't have a shielded gas, or, you know, welding iron or something like that. Flux core is real nice for that. We're not going to get too much into that one. I don't really do a lot of flux core. Stick welding, of course, the machine does come with a few samples of some ESAB SureWeld 6013 electrodes, as you guys can see here. So if you guys are doing stick welding, it does come with that, and also it does come with the little ESAB stick welding handle there. I don't really do too much stick welding, so I'm going to pass on that. DC TIG, obviously this is going to be for your steels, your stainless steel, carbon steel, whatever type of steel you're using or welding. And of course AC, this is going to be for your aluminum. So it does have an aluminum you know, capability of welding, TIG welding aluminum. So this is going to say, you know, check your polarity. So you will be switching polarities here. That's one thing about the machine. You do have to manually change the polarity. With some of the other machines, I did see that they have an auto polarity change, so you don't have to be messing around with your wires. But this machine, you do have to manually change that. So that might be one drawback. Like I said, with 110, you are limited to 130 amps for your AC. When you have 220, you can actually bring that up even higher. But on 110, I think it's limited to 130. Actually, I think it's even lower than that. Yeah, on 110, it is capped at 130 amps on the machine. So now this is the basic feature. There's actually a more advanced settings in this, where you can adjust your downslope, upslope. One drawback with this machine, though, it does not have AC pulse. That's the drawback with this machine. It does weld aluminum just fine without it, but AC pulse would have been a really nice feature that I think they should add to this machine. And another thing that they should have added is a smart AC TIG, which would have been awesome, where the machine would actually adjust some basic settings, kind of like the Smart MIG with the MIG, where all you would really need to do is put in some basic information, the thickness of material, and then the machine would kind of guide you into TIG welding some aluminum or even stainless. Now, as far as let me just go back real quick here. As far as TIG welding on DC, You do have some extra features on that as well. You actually do have pulse on the DC side. So you do have that type of, so you can see right there, DC TIG pulse. So you can adjust your pulse as well. Now there are some more advanced features and you do have to turn that on. So let me see how I can get out of here. Some more DC information, setup guides, all that kind of good stuff. Lift TIG, this does have high frequency TIG as well, so or high frequency start, I should say. So it does start on its own. You don't have to scratch start or lift TIG or anything like that. It's just, it does have high frequency start for those that like that feature. It is on this welding machine. But yeah, so this machine is pretty cool. Let's go ahead and talk about some of the components that come with the machine as well, along with the foot pedal and stuff like that. Let's get into more detail with those. All right, talking about some of the components, here is the ground strap for the welder. It's nothing super crazy. It's probably one of the better ground straps. I will say I did find an issue. Here inside, it's actually got kind of like this bolt where you screw the ground onto this little, like, I forget what you would call this. But anyway, we ended up finding a bad ground from the factory when we went to go connect this. So if you do have a problem with the ground, check this connection inside. You could actually take this little like rubber boot off, but I can't do it with one hand and record at the same time. But make sure you check this, because I did find that we had an issue with the machine that we had at work with that ground problem. And next thing we're going to be looking at is the MIG gun. The MIG gun is decent. It's not bad for a stock gun. It is pretty heavy. The angle is it's okay. The bulk of the head is kind of big. The triggers actually feels pretty decent. Some of the other machines that I looked at have a little bit different of a trigger, and it just felt super cheap. Did not like that one bit. So the MIG gun is pretty decent for being a stock gun. I'd probably upgrade that later on, but for now it'll have to do. The next is our TIG torch, and it does come with some consumables as well, different size tungstens, you guys can see right here, and different size cups and collets and all that. So you come with a 5, 6, and an 8 size cup, and then quite a different end caps and stuff like that. So it does come with this little cool tool as well to kind of help you with sizes of your material. So it's kind of nice little gauge. As far as the TIG torch is very basic. This is probably something you're going to probably upgrade in the near future, but as far as stock TIG torch, it does all right. I think they could have done a little bit better job getting a better TIG torch, well, I guess you get what you get, you know. But yeah, for the stock TIG torch, it's all right. I don't like that it's very, very stiff. It's not a flex head or anything like that. Yeah, it's all right. I'm not too crazy about it. The foot pedal, really, really nice, responsive. Got this nice little grip tape here. One of the better foot pedals for sure. And this is one thing that I really, really liked about this machine. Came with really, really good foot pedal. Moving on from the foot pedal, we also have some MIG wire. This is the Aristo rod, 4.4 pounds of MIG wire, and this is a 3.0. This is what it comes with stock. Basically just a sample roll for you to get started in MIG welding. This is pretty good MIG wire. I do like this. We did use it at work, and it just, you know, it's MIG wire. What else can I say about it? Now, I did purchase this machine and everything from Baker's Gas. So Baker's Gas actually had a deal where they would upgrade your regulator to a Victor cut skill. This is a regulator with a flow meter, basically. So you do have a nice little upgrade. Now, the one that it came with stock basically just had 2 gauges on it, didn't have this actual flow meter on. But if you buy it from Baker's Gas, they do upgrade you to a better regulator with the flow meter on it, so that's pretty nice. Also, of course, you have your gas hoses here. Now on the back of the machine, you do have two connections for your gas. So if you're going to be using it for TIG or MIG, you're going to either select either or. This would have been a nice feature to have with some sort of automatic switching where it could switch between MIG or TIG, where you wouldn't have to actually physically remove the hose and put it onto the next one. It's kind of a hassle, to be honest with you. And that's one of the things with this machine is, you know, for each process that you want to use, you do have to kind of switch everything over, and it becomes, you know, quite tedious if you have to do multiple processes throughout your job. Yeah, this machine is, well, kind of old school in that you have to change everything out. Whereas the miller that I saw, or that I was actually thinking of getting, it's kind of switches it for you, so you don't have to be switching hoses and lines and all that kind of stuff. It kind of just switches over right away, and you could basically do anything you want with that machine. But of course, you also are paying top dollar for that Miller name, of course. So this was the machine for me because of cost, and we'll get into how I got this machine for so cheap, and let's go ahead and talk about that. All right, so how did I get my machine for so cheap? I paid about $2,900 for this ESAB Rebel. Now, I ended up having a Eastwood, what was it? Eastwood 135 MIG welder. I had it in the corner sitting for quite a while. It was a decent machine. It wasn't terrible, but it did lack a little bit of power, and it was very limited, right? It wasn't a multi-process machine. It was just a MIG welder. So I ended up selling it. So I ended up selling the MIG welder for $300, the cart for another $90, which was pretty close to $400. And I also sold the gas tank, which now looking back at it, I probably shouldn't have sold the cart and the gas tank. I didn't think I was gonna get the welder. I honestly felt like it was gonna be out of my budget, but with such big discounts, I was able to afford getting the welder, right? So anyway, I got $400 from that weld. Now, another way of saving some money was that ESAB actually is offering a rebate on their welders. I believe it was 150 or $200. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I remember it said $200. So they have a $200 rebate right now with the welder. So I ended up getting an additional $200 off. Now, I did purchase this from Baker's Gas. If you guys are familiar with their YouTube channel, they have basically a welding YouTube channel where they show a bunch of different welders and they're welding with it and all that kind of good stuff. That's who I purchased this from. Now, on their website, they were advertising this machine for $38.50, I believe it was, which with the rebate, it brought it down to $36.50. But then with taxes, it went back up to $38.50. So it was just a nightmare anyway. So it ended up being like $38.50 or $3,900, right? For the machine. But like I said, with that additional $200, yeah, I got $200 off of it. So just shy of $4,000, right? So $3,800. Plus that $400 from the welder, plus it was recently my birthday, so I ended up getting about $300 from my parents and $200 from my girlfriend, so that's another $500, right? Then I purchased this on my credit card, which my credit card has a 1% cash back, so I ended up getting another additional $40 off the deal. So I got $40 back from my credit card company. So after calculating all the money that was gifted to me, plus the cash back from the credit card, the rebates and all that, it ended up being a total of $1,140. So $2,900 minus $1,140, that equates to what, 27 something? 2,700, let's just round it up to 2,800. So I ended up getting this machine for 2,800 bucks. Where else can you get this type of machine for that kind of money? That is a steal. So that's how I got the machine for so cheap. Anyway, guys, I hope you guys really enjoyed. I know I did. Finally, I got the machine I've always wanted. And well, thanks to the help of my family, my friends, my girlfriend, and everybody else that helped me out with this. Thank you so much. Even Bank of America, thank you for offering cash back. I got an extra 40 bucks off of the deal. So so anyway, guys, we will be welding with this guy later on. I do have to wait for some welding gas. I just have to go pick it up. So I'll probably end up picking it up tomorrow. But yeah, tomorrow for me is probably next week for you guys. So anyway, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed. Stay spraying, stay wrenching. We'll catch you guys on the next one. See ya.